Today we're going to walk you through a pedal service for the Chromag contact pedal, but this also applies for most other Chromag pedals as well. You will need a pedal repair kit from Chromag, a hammer, a punch, a ratchet with an 8mm and 10mm socket, an 8mm and a 6mm Allen key, some blue Loctite, grease, rubbing alcohol and a clean rag. To replace the bushing, you'll need a bushing removal tool and a bushing installation tool. You can also use a 1/2" bolt and a socket, but we'll be using the correct tools, which is strongly recommended and can be purchased from Chromag. We can start by identifying the left and right pedals. The left pedal has a ridge around the lip, whereas the right pedal does not. You can also identify the pedal body using the graphic. The graphic should read the correct way when you're on the bike. The other thing to note is the left side has a black nut, while the right side has a silver nut. As there are left and right side specific parts, it's recommended you perform the service on one pedal at a time. Start by using a 6mm Allen key to remove the end cap. Next, use an 8mm socket and an 8mm Allen key to remove the nut inside the pedal. The Allen key size may vary depending on the pedal model. Note, on the drive side pedal, which uses a silver nut, the thread direction is reversed. Take care not to lose the nut, as it may still be inside the socket. Slide the axle out of the pedal body and check the end for a washer that may still be inside. You can use a pick or something similar to remove this. You will now have a pedal body with a bearing in one end and a bushing in the other. Use a punch and hammer to gently knock the bearing out. If you don't have a punch, you could use a 6mm Allen key. Next, you need to inspect the bushing to see if it needs replacing. First, clean the bushing area and check for any signs of damage. If the bushing needs to be reseated, you can use a bushing installation tool or a socket to push it back in. Again, the bushing installation tool does a much better job than the socket. If the bushing appears to be damaged, we will need to remove it before we can install a new one. You can do this using a 1/2" bolt, but it's recommended to use the bushing removal tool, which we will demonstrate in this video. Push the bushing removal tool firmly into the bushing to cut a secure thread which is needed to pull the bushing from the pedal body. As the bushing will be replaced, don't worry too much if you damage the bushing, but try not to damage the inner surfaces of the pedal body. The bushing tool should be seated about halfway up the threads to be secure enough to remove the bushing. Next, clean the pedal body with rubbing alcohol and a clean rag. Slide the new bushing onto the bushing installation tool, making sure the chamfered end of the bushing is going into the pedal body first. Grease the bushing and install it by pressing firmly into the pedal. If you don't have the bushing installation tool, you could use the socket. Next, install the rubber seals onto the axle. The cone shape on the larger seal should match the radius on the axle. Install the larger seal first, then the smaller seal with the tapered end towards the pedal side. Grease the axle, taking care not to get any grease on the end threads, as we will add blue Loctite to this area. Add a small amount of grease to the pedal body on both ends and slide the axle inside. Next, add the bearing, the washer, and finally the corresponding nut. Place your finger on the nut and gently twist the axle to get the thread started. Note that the silver nut on the right side pedal will have a reverse thread. Use an 8mm socket and an Allen key to tighten sufficiently. Add some Loctite to the end cap and tighten with a 6mm Allen key. Finally, check there is no play in the axle and that the pedal spins freely.